For back-to-back races, our drivers are tackling short tracks in the Southeast. But last time they drove the Legends cars, which are small, light, and nimble. Today, they must face off in the big, heavy street stocks and do their best to lug them around South Boston's tiny confines. Who will handle it best? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 8 of the South Sound Speedway E-Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. South Boston Speedway might confuse the uninitiated. The city of South Boston is in fact in Virginia, just across the border from North Carolina. To help educate our viewers, let's head to our track guide.
Welcome to South Boston, Virginia, and perhaps the most well-known short track to iRacers, South Boston Speedway. Opened in 1957, this 4/10-mile track with limited banking is where many of the old drivers in iRacing got their start. The track served as an original launch partner with the service and has long been a hotbed of Legend Series drivers learning the ropes on the sim. South Boston is a challenging short track. Your best success usually comes hugging that yellow line. But buyer beware, pit walls extend into turns 1 and 3, and they are unforgiving. And even more daunting, perhaps, the barriers protecting the pit entrance off turn 4, which are sure to end your race if you spin low on corner exit. Located in the heart of NASCAR country, Sobo, as it's locally known, hosted the Cup Series up until 1971, with the Xfinity Series and the NASCAR trucks racing here into the 2000s. Today, Sobo's a favorite of drivers in the NASCAR modified ranks. It's also seen frequent visits from the former NASCAR East Series. The track also plays host to weekly NASCAR late model action and other touring late model and super late model events as well. On a Saturday night at South Boston, you're likely to see a future NASCAR star. Sobo has served as a proving ground for future NASCAR winners and champions. That's your look at South Boston Speedway. Now it's your turn to try to conquer Sobo. Let's go short track racing.
South Boston, another one of those circuits that's going to be plenty familiar to a lot of oval drivers on iRacing here, DJ, since it's part of the base content.
It is indeed, but there is nothing basic about this track, Joe. It is a nice little 4/10 of a mile oval, 12-degree banking, and a very tight turn 1 and a little bit of a wider turn 2. Now, that banking may not seem like a lot, but when you're driving around it, believe me, it is very tricky. And in these street stocks, getting these cars turned, getting them down to speed and be able to hit the apex requires all of the talent that these drivers are going to have in them. The low line is going to be preferred tonight, although we may see a little bit of momentum working up on the high side. But the thing to keep in mind is that apron, the yellow line, the transition from that 11 degrees down to the flat surface can be absolutely deadly. Now, I was watching a couple of drivers in practice flirting with a little bit and actually using it to their advantage, deliberately getting it to throw the rear end of the car into a skid and almost drift around the corners to get it better. It's a decent strategy, but at the same time, it's going to be very hard to pull off. So I think everybody's going to have to be very, very cautious of that yellow line.
We'll watch out for that. But before we get to the race itself, we want to remind you that this race is brought to you by Key Property Services. Key Property Services, Inc. is a locally owned full-service property management, real estate, and construction contracting company. KPS has been serving the Greater Clark area for over 30 years. For more information, visit kpsinc.net. Key Property Services, where service is the key. It is also brought to you by United Roofs. As specialists in residential and commercial roofing services, they're dedicated to providing customer service that is second to none. Whether you have a new construction project or it's time for repairs, they offer the roofing services you need. To learn how to book a free estimate, go to unitedroofs.com. Championship is starting to get towards the end of things, so as we pull up the points so far. Travis Barnes is sitting pretty. Isaiah Gill, 17 points back, has a ways to go. In fact, he might be more concerned with Eric Johnson Jr., who sits in third by only 3 points behind him. A tie for fourth between White and Andy Johnson is a little ways back. In fact, about 28 points down to that fourth spot. Chris Torres then rounding out our top 5 positions in the driver's standings. Now, let's go through, of course, the race details for today. Travis, I believe you've got the update, or excuse me, DJ, you've got the update. I was looking at the wrong name.
It's all good, Joe. We are on the 8 of 12 rounds in this Southbound Esports series. We're going to be racing the iRacing street stocks tonight. So these big, heavy base content cars, the beginner's path to a lot of oval driving for these guys. It's a 130-lap race, and yes, they will be able to take some tires. So 2 sets of tires during the course of the race. Now, this is always important, especially on a little short track like this. Caution flags will be thrown by race control, so nothing's going to trigger on the iRacing service itself. The race stewards, who are live race stewards, are going to take a look at what happens on the track, if they are able to get up and out of the way and not impact any other drivers, and then they will throw a caution if that is not the case. So that will hopefully keep us more green than we normally would be here tonight at South Boston.
I'm glad you brought that up, because not only does that relate to my next topic, but me making the mistake I did is because I was looking at the name of Travis Barnes in the number 11. If we could get a close-up shot of him today, he's got a very special livery on that number 11 in honor of a driver that has sadly left us, Kevin Carver, who was active at South Sound Speedway in the Northwest Oval community as well. Has unfortunately lost his life in a battle with cancer recently. So the number 41, there you can see it on screen, is going to be honored on lap 41 with a caution thrown by the stewards. They will do a 3-wide salute then, and we will honor the memory, of course, of Kevin Carver. Our thoughts go out to his family and friends in this difficult time. And right now, we've had the warm-up finish up here as we're just getting ready to start the qualifying session. I see a couple of drivers making their way out for what will be a 3-lap session to try and set their fastest time.
And there you see on your screen Derrick Presley working his way around and already having a little bit of problem. Presley not able to get that car pointed the right way, but here comes Eric Johnson Jr. coming on by as he works his way through that tricky turn 1, setting the fastest lap along the way.
Only 2 drivers with a time thus far. Should be seeing a few more in. There's a number of them that are waiting. Maybe they are electing to try and start from the back. Andy Johnson goes a little bit quicker and up into second place. Jeff Peterson now on the board in the number 23 into 4th. And I see Derrick Presley having set his first time. Driver we were just talking about, Travis Barnes, now has the 11 on track, and I think he's just getting ready to start his first flying lap.
And there he is, starting it out indeed, working his way down close to that line. One of the best ways to take it is to really diamond off that first corner. So come in tight, let the car run a little bit wide, and then dive it back down again. Stay closer to the line through 3 and 4. Andy Johnson setting the fastest time of the race, and Barnes comes across the line with a 16.3. That's going to put him in P5 for right now, but he is not done, Joe.
Looked like he was trying to warm up the tires on his out lap. Doesn't seem to have done as much good as he would have hoped. He's still got time. Oh, and he's abandoning this second lap, and that's going to ruin his third lap as well. So Travis Barnes is done. That was bizarre. The number 11 will have to settle for 7th place after a botched qualifying. Christopher White and Chris Torres, the only 2 yet to put one on our timing sheets here in qualifying.
Yeah, and there you see Barnes going by, not able to get that car up to where he wants to, but Isaiah Gill currently sitting on the fastest time of the day with that 16.1 mega run there for him. Chris Torres unable to go faster there on his latest lap, so that's going to be a disappointing start for Torres. Here comes Sean Jones. Sean very off the pace. Kyle Matthews trying to improve, and he is unable to do so.
Apparently, Travis Barnes didn't check how many laps they had. He's saying that he thought his qualifying run was over. Kyle Matthews didn't improve on his final lap. Interesting you mentioned Gil. His quickest was that third and last lap. Looks like that is everybody who can set a time except for Christopher White, who, well, he's slowing down on his last lap. I wonder if he's falling victim to the same thing that Travis did, as the 83 is puttering around to what looks like entering pit lane.
Yeah, indeed, he does dive it down pit lane. So that's not going to end well for Christopher there. But Gil putting in a very, very good time. But Andy Johnson right on his heels, only 78 thousandths of a second behind him. And Peterson only 95 thousandths behind them. So this top three throwing a blanket over him.
That'll end our qualifying. So our grid is set here for round 7 today. Isaiah Gill puts it on the pole with Andy Johnson starting to his outside. And then it is Jeff Peterson who will begin in P3. Outside of row 2, it'll be Eric Johnson Jr. in 4th, and then Kyle Matthews rounds out the top half of the field in 5th.
Starting in the bottom half is Derrick Presley in 6th, followed by Christopher White in 7th. Travis Barnes is going to be flanking him to the outside of row 4 in P8. Ryan McLeod and Chris Torres going to be making up row 5, and then bringing up the back of the field in 11th place will be Sean Jones.
Waiting for everybody to grid up as we get ready to go here for our latest round. For those who haven't been watching the South Sound Speedway E-Series, they hop into different types of cars each week. Some of them have overlapped. They have run the street stocks once before. But what I find interesting is that the last time they brought these big, heavy street stocks out, DJ, it was at Charlotte, which is pretty much the complete opposite of what we've got here.
Exactly. You know, Charlotte wide open in these street stocks. You maybe have to feather the throttle a little bit, but not a lot of braking as opposed to Sobo here, where you really do have to use those brakes. You can see the brakes lighting up on the inside as they try to get the cars low. So very, very different skill set for these drivers on display here today.
Certainly going to require the best of their ability as we wait for them to grid up Torres and Andy Johnson, the last couple, and then we will get going. Interesting to note, too, for those who want a little tidbit about these machines, it was the street stock owned by Junior Motorsports, actually. Of course, Junior, Dale Earnhardt Jr., for those not familiar who I'm referring to, has recently joined the staff of iRacing. And his involvement goes all the way back, essentially, to the beginning of this sim. Looks like they're now taking off on their way around 130 laps. I imagine it's going to take some patience here today, DJ.
Yeah, you do not want to be going for broke early in this race. You know, only 2 sets of tires to change out to, so you've got to be a little bit careful on them. You don't want to go too hard. Only 72 degrees track temperature, and we are at night, so I don't have too many concerns about massive heat blistering and tire wear. But at the same time, coming through these tight confines, you've got to be very careful to protect those outside tires.
Already done with the first pace lap, and then they're going to be released out of turn 4 as the Mustang will dive into pit lane. That'll give Isaiah Gill control of the field. Will the 28 be able to stay with him? And will he be able to cover off as behind him the 23 of Peterson could try and sneak inside and snatch that second place away? Pace car is in. No waiting for the 24 as Isaiah Gill is off. Down into the first corner. He does dive down to the inside, so Andy Johnson protects P2. But look at Eric Johnson Jr. managing to get up into third ahead of the 23. In fact, Peterson's already under attack as the 29 of Matthews manages to get the line beneath him.
It's a big schmozzle there in the back. Everybody running 2-3 wide, but really, really good running through the field. As you can see, Gill just starting to try to pull away, but Eric Johnson Jr. all over the back of Andy Johnson, not letting him up. You can see a little bit of a different line as they both try to take the best one. Caution is out.
And Jeff Peterson got tipped around. little bit of a 3-wide situation as they went through. Looks like Presley got underneath, and then Travis Barnes got ambitious. Barnes is going to narrowly escape this one. As we watch the replay, that is Peterson in the red and yellow machine. Here's the tip coming up into turn 3.
There you see Peterson on that outside line, and that number 4 of Derrick Presley just gets up into him a little bit, that little bit of bump, sending him around. You know, Joe, these cars are big and heavy, but they are sensitive just as any other car on the sim if you get that little bit of contact.
Great avoidance by the 88 of Ryan McLeod, who we ride on board with right now. Fantastic stuff to keep from plowing into the side of the 25 there. Or 23, excuse me. So they're going to re-rack them, try and get it going again. Got a couple laps in. Certainly some good racing in the mid-pack.
Yeah, some really nice 2-wide battles. Everybody not heeding my advice of being patient. And that is frankly what we like to see at a good short track race like this. But I think you're going to see a combination of what we saw across the field. Isaiah Gill starting to spread out a little bit. You're going to see a couple of drivers really start to do that. But if you are evenly matched with somebody, it is going to be a fierce battle all the way around here.
Lights still on the pace car. Andy Johnson in second place. Eric Johnson Jr. having slotted up into third. This will also promote Kyle Matthews into P4 with that incident we saw with Peterson, and Travis Barnes all the way up to 5th already. 3 positions gained actually for the number 11.
Yeah, Barnes having a very, very good run. He's going to be another one to keep an eye on, that 11. Obviously having the problems in qualifying as we saw, but he is going to be on a mission. And being on that preferred inside line, we saw that really working out on that start. That's where you want to put these cars, so we'll have to see if that continues to be throughout the race.
They've got them lined up 2 by 2. And once again, Isaiah Gill waiting for the green flag. Pace car is in. Gill is away. Green flag is out. I don't think the 28 is going to be able to get down low this time, because to his inside, Eric Johnson Jr. manages to get a nose in. Doesn't get the exit off, and in fact, now he can't go high because here comes the 11.
Ooh, he's going to get pinched down on the inside, coming outside of 3 and 4, but able to hold it together as the 11 of Travis Barnes had to back off ever so slightly, but they are running 1, 2, 3, almost up into the back of Andy Johnson. There is Eric Johnson Jr., but these guys really, really keeping it tight, trying to find the edge, trying to find the advantage. Little bit of bumping and shoving, almost a little bit of a push there as Johnson gets pushed up wide.
Eric holds on to it, but now Travis Barnes sees his chance. He gets all the way down to the apron. Can't quite power it off the corner, but he's still got the overlap into turn 3 as the 14 of Eric Johnson Jr. is going to be demoted a spot here. Ooh, off the corner, they almost come together. If he can finally finish this one up, that'll be 5 spots and only 11 or 12 laps here for Travis Barnes.
Yeah, keep your eye on that number 11, doing exactly what I talked about as the danger strategy to do in the pre-race, using that apron to actually get the car turned as Eric Johnson goes spinning, as does the 29 of Sean Jones.
And there's the caution. Kyle Matthews gets the worst of it. That is the number 29. This starts with him, I think, tipping the right or the left rear of Eric Johnson Jr. into turn 1. Here's the replay.
So there we watch it. That is the 29 there. You can see him. That is Kyle Matt on not being able to read numbers from him. But you see him coming down to the inside of the 14, gets the bump on him, and then right into the back. 1, 2, 3. Everybody just runs into each other there. That's going to be a hard lick for Matthews. Doesn't look like he has any motor damage right now. And the front of that car and the rear relatively in place. So I don't know how much damage he actually took, Joe.
The other 2 involved in the contact is Christopher White and Derrick Presley, but should be minor contact. I know we've talked a lot about the dirt version of these cars, and these things can tend to be the same. They're just tanks, man. So I'm not too worried if we see this sort of beating and banging.
Oh, not at all. These things will take a lick, and a lot of times you'll actually see where if you get a little bit of damage for whatever reason, you'll start to go a hair faster. There's no way to explain it. I don't know how that works, but it just seems to be the case time in, time out.
I'm trying to remember the crew chief. I was told once on air, there was someone that said they're adding lightness. That's what's happening there.
I like that. I like that as an explanation. I'll go with that.
All right, waiting for the pace car to turn its lights out for us to double up one more time. So far, our hard charger does appear to be Travis Barnes, but don't count out Sean Jones. He is up 4 positions in his double aught. He started in 11th at the very back of the field, or excuse me, second to last in the field, I should say, and he is currently 7th right now.
As there you see Isaiah Gill just trying to see if he can catch anybody napping, thinking maybe he's going to fake somebody out on the pit lane. Good strategy there from Gill. A little frustrating if you're behind in one of those drivers. I know when I'm in the sim, I always hate when guys do that, but Gill was perfectly entitled to do that. And maybe next time we'll get somebody to bite on him.
It's all part of the game. They do have those 2 extra sets of tires, 3 including the one that is currently on the car. Getting a little bit of a hello from the 11 of Travis Barnes, letting him know he's there. Also love the creative paint schemes that the drivers in this series come up with, because I believe this was originally a Camaro, I want to say, but he's turned it into a Firebird as Isaiah Gill. Of course, with Toy Story plastered all over it on top of things. But now it's time to play with these toys as they come across the line with the green flag, and already in a second place in the very first corner, Travis Barnes gets another one.
Mega run there from Barnes, just absolutely caught Andy Johnson napping, and now he's starting to pressure Isaiah Gill. Almost gets into the fender and almost loses it off a 4.
There's that danger zone you're talking about. He got on the flat, and the car did not like that. Behind him, Andy Johnson in 3rd, still holding on to his podium position. The battle for 4th and 5th goes to Eric Johnson Jr. as he had to fend off Christopher White, but otherwise, pretty much single file through much of the field at this point.
And Isaiah Gill getting very, very creative with the defense in that first position, slowing the car down on the apex a little bit, forcing Barnes to check up or run into the back of him. Absolutely brilliant from Gill here to hold Barnes behind him.
As the 11 continues to spy the rear bumper, we ride on board with them, just looking over the dash. He certainly seems to have the speed. Oh, this time it's a bobble from the 24, but doesn't open the door down into 1 and 2. Both of them will stay line astern. It's looking like it is a game of chicken here. Who is going to blink first?
Exactly, and you saw in that last lap Isaiah Gill taking that dangerous line down onto the apron to try to get that car rotated. It works if you can make it work. Both cars there get a good run. Looks like Barnes trying to hop out to the outside a little bit, just trying to force Gill into a mistake here. Gets very close to the bumper there. Thought there may have been a little bit of almost of a bump draft through the corner or something similar, but absolutely nothing separating these 2 drivers.
And we have 2 cars stopped on the backstretch. One of them is Kyle Matthews. There's the caution. The other was sadly Jeff Peterson. Now he does have his fast repair, both of them do. Trying to see where this started. They were stopped for a while. Like
all right. So it looks like Derrick Presley in the 4 is going to get a little bit loose here, and that's what's going to start everything out. Now, this is all going to be happening in turns 1 and 2, so keep an eye on the 4. There you see that little bit of loose that causes everybody to check up. Not yet. Okay, we're going to keep going. And there you see. All right, so starting to check up. 4 wide. Very
there
little.
It is.
Ooh, bump and shove. There it is for the 4. Contact for the 29. They get around, and that was an incident that just started in the back. There goes the 88 spinning around it. Oh, that's a hard lick.
It was a chain reaction of sorts. I mean, it started on the front stretch and it finished on the back stretch. Everybody trying to collect the cars and kind of maybe got a little out of sorts, losing track of where everybody is. This puts us with cars laps down finally. Dagenstein is 3 laps down. I think that's because he actually started a little bit late here in today's race. Peterson and Matthews also off the lead lap. In fact, Matthews still looking to try and take his spare car as he is smoking his way down to his pit spot.
Yeah, being smart about it, I have to say, is the 29 of Kyle Matthews. You know, he could have just taken a tow there off the line, but that probably would have cost him upwards of 5 laps potentially in waiting in the box. So coming down like this, it's going to put him 2 laps down as of right now. Looks like he is getting that fast repair, so he will hopefully be out before he goes 3 laps down. Looks like he's going to be 3 laps down.
That will be hard to come back from, even with the lucky dogs to help him get back through the field and get some laps back. So we're waiting for the lights to go out as Isaiah Gill continues to lead. I wonder if Travis Barnes, we've already seen tiny little touches here and there. I wonder if he's going to pull that classic short track move and get the chrome horn out.
He very well might, the way he's been running it. But what's going to be interesting to watch here, Joe, is he's going to be on the outside. We've seen the blistering pace he's got on that inside line, but we've seen guys starting on the outside getting caught out. Andy Johnson right behind him, currently in P3, the latest victim of that. So we'll have to see what the very fast number 11 can do on this restart.
That's a good point. Now that he's up on the high side, he could be susceptible to the same move that he was pulling on others. And it's Andy Johnson who is the most likely to try and execute as the green flag comes out. Good start for Gill. Barnes is clear. Great start there from the number 11. Still side by side from the 28 and the 14. Johnson and Johnson. Eric on the high side, Andy on the low side. As they come down through 3 and 4, powering around out of that corner. Eric Johnson Jr. solidifies P3. And we got a caution.
Oh, and here comes another caution out, looking at the back of the field to see where this started.
It's the 23.
You took the words out of my mouth. That is the 23 of Jeff Peterson.
Yeah, I think he's going to get shoved around by the 13 of Dagenstein. Now, they weren't racing for position there, so this looks to me like a little bit of blindness from Peterson potentially drifting up.
Yeah, I would unfortunately put the blame on Peterson for that. Little bit of internet issue there for Dagenstein, but at the same time, he looked like, Scott Dagenstein did, looked like he was trying to stay out of the way of everybody, and Peterson just moving up the track like he wasn't there.
Things starting to slow down a little bit again as cautions are breeding cautions. Lap 33 out of 130. We still have a ways to go, guys. Let's try and cool it out. And we are going to get a competition caution, of course, near lap 41 as well. So we need to watch out for that. Won't have too long of a run here once we do get going.
No, we won't. And I have to give massive credit on that restart to Eric Johnson Jr. It looked like he had a NOS button in that car coming off of the exit of the corners, just absolutely getting a mega launch on that outside line.
That's the Smokey Eunuch method, I think, right? Putting NOS in the car and just hiding it whenever the scrutineers come through.
It's him, or I've heard a couple stories about AJ potentially having it on the backstretch of the 500 every now and again. I think there's a story about AJ punching Robin Miller when Robin accused him of doing something like that.
As looks like we're going, nope, not going too wide. Lights are going to stay on. At the back, you can see Peterson trying to catch up to the field, which he's dutifully doing now. Restart at least on lap 37, it appears, which will be very close to our competition caution. It's going to be very, very short, actually, once they get going. Almost wonder if they're going to elect to keep the caution running until they get to that lap 41. They've also, I should note, changed this to a single file restart. So we will not double up. The lights are off on the pace car. We will get going this time by.
Heads up move there from the organizers, just wanting to get this going as green as possible. As we've said, very, very difficult combination in these street stocks and this speedway. So here we go, getting ready to go green under different circumstances.
24 waiting for it, and he's off. Green flag is out. This time, no worries of a car going to the inside for Travis Barnes. In fact, he's looking to try and give a little nudge to the 24 through 1 and 2. Thinks about it down to 3 and 4, but the 24 covers him off. Another nudge on him as he goes way shallow down onto the apron. It almost works out, and he's still got the overlap down to 1 and 2. Not quite there as he continues to try and work the 24 to see if he can peel the lead away from him for the first time tonight.
And there he goes. He's got the best run he's had there. Car starts to over-rotate ever so slightly. That's going to give the edge back to Barnes, but they're going to be side by side to cross the line. Very, very close. A little bit of a bump and rub there as that's going to force Gill out wide.
And into the back, the 14 gives a shot to the 11. Almost gave him a boost of speed, and now he is fully clear. As we start lap 40, Travis Barnes is your new leader. Isaiah Gill into second. And third, it's Eric Johnson Jr. And here is the competition caution. This is in memory of Kevin Carver, who has sadly died of cancer in recent days. There we see him on screen. 2018 top-notch trailer late model champion in his classic number 41. We go 3 wide in salute of Kevin Carver. Very lovely moment there for Kevin, and just goes to show how much of a family sim racing and racing itself is. That as hard as they fight on the track, they do still care a whole lot for each other, and they mean the world to one another. So once again, we send our condolences to Kevin's family and his friends after this horrible loss. Waiting for them to throw the green, Travis Barnes will now be our new leader, having recently overtaken it from Isaiah Gill. They're going to hold him, looks like possibly one more lap here as we come across the line. Our timing and scoring not showing the caution flag, as this is manually done by our stewards currently.
Race control giving discretion to Travis Barnes of exactly when he needs to be going. As you said, this is not a sim-directed caution, so getting ready to line up here. We'll have to see what kind of start this mega starter of Travis Barnes can do.
And now that he's got clear air, can he run away from everybody? This is looking like it's it. He's starting to cut down, and he goes. Green flag is out, and Travis Barnes is off. Isaiah Gill tries to chase. He's going to want that top spot back, but what about Eric Johnson Jr.? He's been hanging on to the top 5 almost all race. He could find himself vying for that P1 spot if he can just catch up to the back of the 24, but it's not looking good. He's dropping slightly.
He is, and I was watching him on that last lap. Looks like he had a little bit of a wiggle coming off the corner, just as a moment of snap oversteer he had to correct. But there you see Isaiah Gill giving everything he's got, not even paying attention to the apron at all. A little bit of a wide exit there for Barnes. That's going to allow Gill to catch up, closing that gap down to about half a car length. Gill now looking like he's in the catbird seat, wanting to make a move on Barnes.
And the cars we were watching that battle for 4th, that was Johnson having to play defense, Andy Johnson playing defense on Christopher White. Boy, the 24 is really right now on top of the number 11. Oh, he's getting a little loose coming off of 4, but he holds on to it as Travis Barnes is offering no way through for the time being, almost returning the service as he nearly gets into the bumper of that number 11.
Yes, he is indeed, and Gill now good power off the corner. I don't think he's got enough to dive down the inside. He's going to give him the look to maybe just throw him off of a line. You see Barnes getting a little bit sideways there, but able to keep everything nice and together. Gill continues to stalk here. There you see moments of just a hair of oversteer coming in to get the power down. Once again, good run off the corner, but Barnes able to defend off of the corner itself and hold him back.
Just incredible trust between these two, racing inches apart from one another through the corners. Almost looked like for a minute that Eric Johnson was going to regain that time as they fought. Now that they've gone single file again, that progress has halted somewhat. Don't think this is over though. Gill, maybe he's playing the patient game at this point. We're only 51 laps in. He's got time to try and wait for the right opportunity.
He does indeed, and Joe, we talk about it a lot when you're dealing with road courses of sort of the mind game. Right up the bumper goes Gill there, of just pressuring the guy in front of you into making a mistake. There you see, a little bit of contact that actually sends Gill a little bit squirrely out of the corner. But that's, I think, exactly what Isaiah Gill is doing here. Just keeping up maximum pressure on Travis Barnes, and it was working. He's got a line to the inside.
I think he actually did give him the chrome horn that time as he nudged him up the hill. That gets the overlap for Isaiah Gill, but it doesn't keep it. He's going to have to try again.
He's going to have to go back to the drawing board, but Travis Barnes showing that he is just as good of a defensive driver. Whoa, that was very close.
That was Jeff Peterson once again bringing out the caution, trying to see what caused this. Oh, and once again, 2 cars involved in the last one with him. The 88 of Ryan McLeod and Derrick Presley coming together, slowing up, and unfortunately Peterson just in the wrong place at the wrong time yet again.
The racing gods giveth, Joe, and the racing gods taketh away, and they are taking away here from Peterson a lot tonight. Now, I want to keep watching this because he got contact somewhere that spent him on his roof. Okay, It was just trying to get the power on. Something wrong with that suspension, and that sent him to be very friendly with the wall.
Looked a little bit more like our dirt street stocks managing to climb the wall, but this caution has actually brought out pit stops. Now, Eric Johnson Jr., Chris Torres, and Ryan McLeod have elected to stay out. Travis Barnes comes back out in front, exactly where he was when he came into the pits. Isaiah Gill behind him, and Andy Johnson now third of the drivers who have pitted, but 6th on the track. What is this going to look like with old tires on 3 of our cars, but fresh ones on pretty much everybody else?
And Joe, Isaiah Gill's coming back down pit lane again. I don't know if he has a speeding penalty or what happened here.
I'm guessing it's a speeding penalty, which you can get because these cars do not have pit speed limiters on them. Let's see how long it lasts. They don't have a drive-through penalty, and he's taking more tires. Now, did he take tires on the last one, or did he maybe forget to mark them? Or he's going to have to beat the pace car out, which he barely does.
Oh, very lucky there for Isaiah. You know, I think that may have been an issue if he forgot to put the tires on. I don't think I saw him go up on the jacks on that last time out, Joe.
Oh. Well, an unfortunate mistake there from the 24 costs him multiple positions on track. Not too many, though. Travis Barnes, no, actually only one. Andy Johnson is the only one still on the lead lap with them that hasn't pitted, or that has pitted, I should say. So that means Christopher White, who is a lap down, but ahead of him, is not racing with him currently. Lights are out on the pace car, so this time it'll be Eric Johnson Jr. who finally gets clear track in front of him. What can the 14 do with this?
We'll have to see. He's been strong here tonight. Pace car pulls in. We're ready to go.
Green flag is out. Eric Johnson is off, and already we got a fight between McLeod and Travis Barnes for 3rd place. Barnes makes it look easy on those fresh tires. Andy Johnson struggled a little bit to try and get it done underneath the 88. Looks like he's quick, though, and he's already through.
Moving his way on up through the field there, you see as he goes super low to the inside there of Chris Torres and gets the move done. Those new tires for Barnes really paying dividends.
Taking very little time to overtake the 3 cars that did not pit. One more of them to go. Eric Johnson Jr. in front of him. As the 11 sizes him up, he's already passed for the lead. He might be able to do it again as they round turn 4. He's up to the rear bumper. It's one thing to catch a car, though. It's another to pass him.
It is indeed, but it looks like he's going to start to try to get the pass on. Thought about going super low to the inside. Did not work, although he does set the fastest lap there in the process. As there you see him just climbing all over the back of Eric Johnson Jr. Big late dive down the inside for Barnes.
Manages to get it wheel to wheel. Nose almost past him, but he's going to have to finish it through 3 and 4. Down to the inside, taking the desirable line. Travis Barnes, for the 2nd time, is going to lead this race. The 14 fights diligently. But there's just not enough grip on those old tires and that high line. Johnson slots into 2nd.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to really do too much to fight back here, as I would not be surprised if we see Travis Barnes just start to absolutely power away here. Clean track in front of him, ready to go.
And fascinatingly, Travis Barnes, as we pointed out, is making it look a lot easier than Andy Johnson is. He's still trying to work on the 99 of Chris Torres, who hasn't pitted, and he took a little bit of a look down into turn 1, gets him off the bottom of the racetrack. He's got to finish the job now.
Torres cut him off. No, Johnson's going to have a little bit of a better run here. Can he keep the power down off the line? It looks like he can. There he is. Torres goes for the crossover move back down into 1, but Johnson, the wily veteran, able to shut that down and move him up into 3rd place. Now he sets his sight on the 14 of Eric Johnson Jr.
That was good timing, because the other driver to take tires, Isaiah Gill, is starting to get close to the back of those cars. He's currently working on the 4, which is not on the same lap, I don't think. No, Derrick Presley's a lap down, so I don't know why Presley is fighting him so hard here. Now he gets by.
Yeah, Presley kind of gives him a nice big line there coming off through 3 and 4. And so now he's setting his sights ahead on Chris Torres. Christopher White in a little bit of the mix there. That's not great for Torres. And here comes Gill.
Yeah, that wasn't for position between Torres and White. In fact, Torres now has the car he should worry about directly behind him. Isaiah Gill almost gets underneath. Can't quite get it overlapped through 3 and 4. Maybe, though, on the exit, making use of those fresh tires down into 1 and 2 once again. He's got to re-rack and try it again. And he's whoa, almost got a great shot into the back of the 99.
That dive down low on the apron there, paying off again. There you see it coming back off onto the banking. Able to keep everything nice and controlled again. Great car control here from Isaiah Gill, but he's got to be absolutely kicking himself. There he's able to get right up behind the left rear quarter panel, but not enough yet again.
Oh, and the battle for second is on. Andy Johnson and Eric Johnson Jr. wheel to wheel. This is once again fresh rubber versus old rubber. The 28 sliding up a little bit, trying not to run into the side of the 14. The battle continues down into 3 and 4 as behind them watches Christopher White, just saying, I want my lap back. Oh no! And unfortunately, he's going to get a face full of sheet metal and bring out the caution.
Oh, rough run there for Eric Johnson Jr. Those old tires coming back to bite him. We jump back here to the replay. You can see him as he goes down, just losing control of the car right there, still struggling on that outside line. Here he comes. He comes down, doesn't really try to pinch Johnson in front of him all that much, and there, just runs out of space.
It looks like maybe Andy was the one drifting up a little bit, unfortunately, and Eric, trying to avoid being run into the wall, eventually has no place to go. And then when he slaps it, there's a whole bunch of cars barreling down on him, including Christopher White. Christopher seems to have survived that, though. That hardy little car has not come into pit lane since this incident. But it does appear that it was enough that Eric Johnson Jr. is going to have to come in for repairs. Now, can he take enough of them, or is he going to get a spare car in time before he gets lapped?
I think that's a spare there, Joe, as you see that quick pop out of the left
he's getting lapped.
front. Yeah, he is going to get lapped, though.
Gotta hope for that lucky dog. But ironically, he's going to have to fight Christopher White for it, because he's now the one in line to take that lucky dog.
There you go. The damage on these short tracks proving a little bit detrimental. What this is going to do is this is going to bump Isaiah Gill up to 3rd place, right behind Johnson and Barnes. So that'll certainly make an interesting run for him. White will be able to take that lucky dog, and Gill will have a clear shot at the top 2.
Still have the lights on the pace car. Boy, we have absolutely whipped through this thing. It's now past halfway. So the race is going to wind down pretty quickly here. When they get those long green flag runs, they just rifle off. We still have 10 cars running, depending on if Jeff Peterson is able to repair his machine enough to come back out. He is currently 27 laps down and has been sitting for 9 minutes of repairs. It's been just a horrible day for that number 23. Now we get the lights off, and Travis Barnes will have control in just half a lap.
He will, and I've got to be watching for Andy Johnson, but most importantly, Isaiah Gill directly behind him. That is the fear.
Credit to Chris Torres, the only driver who is yet to stop for tires or fuel. Green flag is out. Travis Barnes is off and spying the inside of the 28. Isaiah Gill wants P2 away from Andy Johnson.
Good checkup launch off the line there for Travis Barnes, able to get everybody bunched up and then take off, gives himself about a 4 or 5 car length advantage to the cars in front. But now Isaiah Gill starting to work on Andy Johnson, trying to find something. Johnson doing a good job to keep him at bay, though, for the time being.
A little bit of a lower line, way lower line there for a moment from the 24, using that apron coming off of the final corner. Once again, drivers taking just interestingly different lines amongst each other, despite being on pretty much the same strategy. Keeps poking his nose, but there's no opening.
He's just got to hope to get a better run off the corner, hoping to get it by going down onto that apron. Decides not to there, just sticks the left side tires right on the yellow. Not gonna do anything here, but there you see, going back to that super inside line, and there it works. He has upside the quarter panel, but has to back off before running into contact, but he's able to send it down into 1 and 2. Can Johnson make it work with momentum on the top side? It looks like it's advantage Gill.
Gill will not be denied. Finally back into the second spot. Can he catch up to Travis Barnes? He's got a second to make up on that number 11. So far this race, Barnes has looked like he's had the measure of Gill in terms of pace. Has that changed towards the end of this race?
We will have to see, as that gap is up to a full second between the two of them. 86 laps, 87 laps in the books. It's now all up to Gill to try to put the pressure on.
Less than 50 to go. Let's see this time across. It's looking like he may have been a 10th quicker, which is actually pretty big margins at a short track, especially one that's only 16 seconds long. Last time through a 16.3 for Gill versus Barnes, a 16.394. That's a 3.52 for Gill. Let's see what it is this time. Travis Barnes with a 4.51. Gill with a 3.36. He is definitely quicker, and he is reeling him in.
He's closing very, very fast here in that semi-clean air, just able to get the line he wants to do. But Joe, you said it at the top of the broadcast, getting up to him is one thing, passing him is another. He's got that gap now down to about 7 tenths of a second, 7.5 tenths.
He can see him up ahead, and he can see him getting bigger through the windscreen. 7 tenths as they cross the line. Andy Johnson trying to follow, but he's been dropping off 5 tenths of a second. Clearly, Isaiah Gill right now the fastest man on track.
He is just positively flying here, only 400ths off of the fastest lap of the race outright. Now able to get that gap, as it actually looks like he's able to get that gap under 7 tenths of a second, just barely under 7 tenths, and now he just keeps pushing. This is closing in 73 laps, or 72 laps in the book, working set lap 73 right now.
He is amazingly consistent. For 2 laps, Isaiah Gill ran the same lap time to the 1,000th of a second, and then went 200ths quicker last time through. He's got it down to 6 tenths of a second up to Travis Barnes. Looks like at this rate, he will catch him with at least 20 laps to go.
And those 20 laps should be enough to try to get a move on, but we have seen just how wily Barnes can be, and I have to think he's going to have a few tricks up his sleeve to hold off the charging Isaiah Gill here, but right now it is all up to Isaiah to try to see what he can do.
Down through 3 and 4, the Firebird liveried Isaiah Gill continuing to try and chase down Travis Barnes, and he's got it down to 5 tenths of a second now. This is one of the best battles that we've got on track currently. Everybody else is spread apart. This one closing in, one of the only ones that is closing in together. We are in line for a stunner of an end to this race.
Indeed, we are. There you see a little bit of oversteer from Gill as he comes off that corner. Great camera provided by Dougie Beard. You can see what it is we ride on board with the hood of Gill, using that apron to his advantage. And nowhere off of these corners or into these corners does it look like Gill is losing time. It just looks like he has got the measure of Barnes here on every step of the track. About a car length and a half now separating them, closing all the time.
Isaiah Gill isn't falling, he's flying, or isn't flying, I messed up the joke. He isn't flying, he's falling with style right now as he's 2/10 of a second behind Travis Barnes. Number 11 doesn't have any lap traffic in front of him, so currently as they stretch away from everybody else, they have their own piece of racetrack all to themselves to try and sort this one out.
It's going to come down to them. The closest car ahead of them is Sean Jones, about 4.5 seconds up the road. But now Gill completely behind that rear bumper of Travis Barnes. It is go time for the 24.
I got to suspect Gill's going to get that bumper right up to the rear of the 11. Give him a little bit of a hello here soon enough. And there it is right there.
There's that chrome horn on the front of the car, getting used and getting its money's worth. There it is again, a little bit of a bump and rub coming off of turn 4, but not able to get anything done. Gill here, under 30 laps to go, just looking for anything. He may have an opportunity here to dive it down deep.
He's going to get to the inside. 24 is looking for the shot off the corner, but he's too shallow, and Barnes will fend him off for now. Less than 30 laps to go, and the 24 is on a mission.
He is on a mission, and he has now fallen back ever so slightly, but able to close back up here again, sizing up his opponent. We saw that super low line not working for him, but here we go. There's some lap traffic in front. That is the 00 of Sean Jones. What wrench is that going to throw into this?
Is Jones aware of the situation? Is he watching his mirrors and seeing our leaders coming up behind him? He should have space to try and get out of the way if he wants. See if he stays up high here coming into 3 and 4. No, he's going to go down low, and this will hold up Travis Barnes right in the line of our leader, who has to stay shallow off the corner. 24 can't find a pick out of it though, but he is going to get into the back of him as the double odds not giving up this lap easily, and unfortunately makes it awkward for both of our battling leaders.
Oh, I got very nervous there with Sean Jones coming around there, but he is able to let them both back by. The only thing that's really done is just kept this where it is and took a couple of laps off of the charts here, as there are 107 laps in the book, working lap 108. Good run down low for Gill, but that outside exit able to get a little bit more power for Barnes.
We haven't had a caution in a while. That could change things up entirely. Let's not forget, this has been a long green flag run, and it's not out of the equation that we could get one. Just hounding the back of that number 11, Isaiah Gill is trying everything he can to get around that white and purple car. As we ride on the bumper cam of Travis Barnes, you can see how close he's getting. Another little shove.
Another little shove, another little love tap, and there it is again. Very early twitch there from Barnes. Gave Gill a bit of an advantage, but Gill had to check up ever so slightly to make sure he didn't full on run into the back of him. But here they come. Under 20 to go, Joe. This is starting to get very spicy at the front.
And gets a little shot to the back of that 11 once again. He didn't bump him, he didn't nudge him, he rubbed him, and at short tracks, rubbing is racing. Look at it, he's almost pushing him around the track now. He is absolutely letting him know, I am here and I'm not happy.
I didn't know you could do a bump draft on a short track. That's incredible from Gill, but now you see him back off ever so slightly, trying to get a better run through the corner. I think that may actually be his best option, Joe, is being that close is not letting him really maximize his momentum. He may want to back off and just try to absolutely power through the corner, but he's staying very close behind, trying to make anything work. Better run here from Gill, but Barnes covers him off.
At this rate, how much he is touching that car ahead. He's going to run through the chrome and have to get it replaced before all is said and done. Down to 15 laps to go as they cross the line. I've lost count of how many times these two have come together. A fair game to both of them. It hasn't sent either of them spinning. This has all been great, close racing.
No, Joe, you made the joke earlier. It's the definition of rubbing is racing. This is why we love short tracks. It's that little bump, that little love tap that you can give one another. And if you have faith in your opponent, you can do it absolutely safely. That's what these guys are there doing. Almost a bump draft again as they go down the straight. Gill now trying to get the better run off the low line of that corner. Not going to work. Barnes shuts it again.
An absolute nail-biter here at the end of this 130-lap event. That's one of the biggest shoves we've seen, and it does send the 11 up the hill. But coming off the corner, Gill not able to accelerate as quick as he wants. He's trying every possible move he can and making contact to see what works. That one a little bit sooner in the corner. This time I think he may have it. He's got the overlap down into 3 and 4. He's all the way to the apron. 4 wheels on the flat, and it's not going to give him the acceleration he needs.
I was watching that, Joe. It looks like he just got a hair lick of oversteer coming down into the corner, and that didn't allow him to get on the fast pedal quite quickly enough. But there you see Barnes starting to cut off that super low line from Gill. Little bit, ooh, big bump there.
Is he losing patience? Is Isaiah Gill now out of time and trying to make a hard move? Or will he actually send it? Will he try and dive the car down to the inside on the entry just to see if he can get there? Once again, another little tap behind them. They have Christopher White approaching, but he is a lap down, so that's not for position. Once again, many hard shoves to the back mid-corner.
Very, very hard shows. I think Isaiah Gill's getting a little frustrated in that 24 machine, but there he goes, a little bit of an over-under try to see if he can get anything on Barnes. Nothing doing there. He's now going for a higher line to try to cross him over. He may have a nose. No, Barnes shuts the door again.
8 laps to go. He's going to get all the way to the bottom. The car almost starting to lose its rear. He gets underneath him through 3 and 4 once again. He's a little bit better on the flat. He's kept the overlap out of 3 and 4, down to 1 and 2 this time. But they're coming up on lap traffic once again. The double lot, this time he stays high and out of the way. Still a battle for the lead with 6 laps to go. Pinching him down to the bottom. The 11 of Travis tries to hold on, but he can't. And Isaiah Gill back to the front for the first time since almost the start of this race.
And Barnes almost back into the back of Gill, but here he comes trying that same inside line to see what he can do. 5 laps to go here in South Boston. Barnes really working that low line, but a great jump off the corner from Isaiah Gill is going to keep him in front.
4 laps to go now. Isaiah Gill has to switch modes and play defense. Can Travis Barnes take it right back, and will he play hard and try and move him around just like he got many times from the 24? 3 laps to go now. He's starting to fall off. Isaiah Gill, despite seeming like he's using up the tires with so much sliding around through that last stint, is still quicker than the 11 and pulling away. Lap traffic pulling off the track in front of them, making sure that they don't interrupt this epic fight that we're witnessing here for round 7. 2 to go as Isaiah Gill leads with a gap of about 0.4 of a second. If he can keep it clean, this is all he needs to take the win here today. Across the line with the white flag waving, and Isaiah Gill, who fought his way back forward after making a critical mistake in the pit stop, has come around through turns 3 and 4. The 24 is your victor here today at South Boston Speedway.
Wow, that, Joe, is why we love short track racing. Andy Johnson able to cross the line to take home that final podium position in 3rd, with Chris Torres and Derrick Presley finishing up behind them. That top 5, the only drivers remaining on the lead lap.
Talking about earning it, the 24 had to put all his blood, sweat, and tears just to take the victory today. As the fireworks go off, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global SimRacing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to South Boston Speedway. This has been the best race we've seen yet in this series for the South Sound Speedway eRacing series. And it was Isaiah Gill who took the victory, who started on pole, but that is not the whole story by any stretch of the imagination. Lost the lead, lost track position through a pit error, and then climbed his way back to the front and fought for nearly 30 laps to take the win away from Travis Barnes, who you have to give credit to. He kept that race just as clean from 8th on the grid for him. Gotta feel a little bit bad for that 11th to not take the victory today after such a hard fight for him. Andy Johnson finished in 3rd, with Chris Torres also coming forward with a poor qualifying from 10th to 4th. Then it is Derrick Presley in 5th and Christopher White, our first car, a lap down in 6th. DJ?
Eric Johnson Jr., one of your early front runners, fell down the order to finish in 7th, also a lap down. Ryan McLeod behind him in 8th. Sean Jones was 3 laps down, followed by Kyle Matthews, who was 6 laps down. And then rounding out the field, Jeff Peterson and Scott Degenstein.
That brings us to our winner here today, Isaiah Gill, with just an absolutely stunning fight out on track. Isaiah, I completely lost track of how many times you and Travis made contact out there, but it was just something else to watch. Our jaws were on the floor. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a fun race between me and Travis. Anytime me and Travis race together, it's probably usually one of those shows. We're always racing them every series I go to. It's either a bumper race. It's pretty fun.
Now, I have to imagine most of those contacts, were you actually trying to move him, or what was your method?
Yeah, on Sobo, it's a very defensive track, especially on the bottom lane, and the only way you can really pass somebody without a set is to move them up the track. So, yeah, most of the time I was trying to move them up the track.
Well, in the end, it was just a great bit of acceleration coming off that got you side by side, and then a hard-fought battle all the way to the end. I mean, how hard is your heart pumping after that one? Because that was one of the most incredible fights I've seen on this channel in a long time.
Oh yeah, I was probably a little nervous for a second because once I feel like I got past Andy and it was me and him and I was 2 seconds behind. I thought it was over and then climbed my way back and yeah, it feels good.
Well, again, congratulations. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for the victory?
I'd like to thank our sponsor Vicky Smith and my dad and Jamie and probably my mom for watching the stream as it's going.
Well, a big hello to them. And once again, that was Isaiah Gill, our winner here today. And the man who followed him home was Travis Barnes, as DJ has caught up with him.
Travis, obviously that battle didn't go the way you wanted, but I gotta say that was one of the best short track battles I think I've seen in the past year and a half.
Thank you. Isaiah and I put on a pretty good show. It's good always racing against him. I have the utmost respect. Race the same class in real life and come on the sim and pretty much battle our hearts out there. Fun to race against him all race. So I appreciate his effort and it got him to win. It was definitely one for the books. I'll remember this race for a while.
I think we will too. I mean, talk about that defense of just, you looked like you were able to really hold down on that inside line. Looked like Travis was really trying to take you low on the exit of corners, and you were just able to slide the car up the track just enough to try to get that momentum to keep it up. And it worked for, 20, 30 laps, I think?
Yeah, something like that. Of course, that's going to eat your right front up, and obviously I did. Couldn't get back to him after he got around me, but I was trying to hold on for those last 5 laps once he got around. And just didn't work out the way we wanted. But you know what? That's how racing goes. Isaiah is great, dude. There's nothing like him. It's awesome.
Very much so. And Travis, I wanted to ask you, obviously, running the paint tonight for Kevin, what does it mean to put on a display like this for a guy like Kevin, who I know would have absolutely loved this?
Kevin, I grew up watching him race around the South Sound Speedway. I've been going for, I don't know, since I was 5. Can remember a lot of stuff around there, but Kevin's just stuck around that place. He's raced street stocks, those late models. He's class act, and it hurt when he found out that he died. Cancer, and his last race was at Yakima, and that was the last time I had seen him. It just means a lot to put this paint scheme together and go out there and represent him well. Try to get him to win tonight, but that's how racing goes. I'm sure he would have been all right with it.
I from everything I've heard about him, I have to imagine that show you guys put on would have put a smile on his face. And Travis, before we let you go, anybody else you need to thank tonight?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the whole No Clue racing scene, Jack Franks for all my talent, and Robert Richardson, my crew chief, Kyle Matthews and Devin Matthews at home, Kyle Matthews, my stepdad, my mom, Shane Hewson, and Ryan. I love Ryan, man. He's awesome. He puts on those practices for us, gets us a little shakedown before we get into the race.
Well, thank you again, Travis, and congratulations on just a wonderful fight and a wonderful P2. And now Joe Peak has caught up with our third place driver, Andy Johnson.
Yeah, Andy was sadly a little bit overshadowed by everything happening in front of him. You probably had one of the best seats for that, though, Andy.
Yeah, I was. My only hope was them getting together and costing each other the race. They were in another league. I burnt up my right front tire trying to stay with them there, and just didn't have anything for them there at the end.
I have to ask, as a Cincinnatian and your sponsor here being brewed in my hometown, is there any significance to the Twisted Tea livery this time?
I just thought it was fun with all the memes going around on Facebook and stuff about the guy hitting the dude in the face with a Twisted Tea.
Okay, I am apparently out of the loop. I got to go and take a look at this. The other thing that I have to ask about then is that the next round is going to be a complete change-up. You're taking the ARCA cars to a road course, to Sonoma. Is there any worry in your mind heading off to the lefts and the rights?
The first corner. I worry about getting gobbled up in a wreck going into the first corner. After that, my goal is just to keep the car on the track for the entirety of the race. I love Sonoma. I've been there half a dozen times to watch cup races growing up. It's our closest track to home. So I'm really looking forward to it. It should be a lot of fun. I think Junior's going to be the one to beat there. Eric Jr. is.
Yeah, I seem to recall him doing very, very well last road course, but that wasn't a points round. Again, congratulations on a podium today, Andy, and can't wait to see you out in California.
All right, thank you. I just want to give Key Property Services a big thank you for helping put this on. Go check them out if you're in the Washington, Portland area, if you need any management services.
Sounds good. Andy Johnson, who finished in third today, is going to wrap up our interview. So we want to give a big thank you to our sponsors for tonight, starting, of course, with Key Property Services. If you want to check them out, you can find them at kpsinc.net. And then there is United Roofs. Their website is at unitedroofs.com. A big thanks goes to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts listed here on your screen. An additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Her Bandcamp is listed there at the bottom. Thanks to the team today, TJ, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media outlets. It includes Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. And of course, there's our merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com. We got a link in the description below if you don't want to type it out. While you're down there, make sure and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. As we mentioned, in a week's time, we're heading off for road course racing, this time for points, and it's going to be in the ARCA cars. That'll be Saturday, January 23rd at 10 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on your screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.